Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your recent trip has been described as leading towards some progress. Can you tell me what these mean in terms of concrete steps in rolling out the 5-point consensus, the ASEAN Peace Plan?
Well, so far I have made 2 visits in Myanmar in my capacity of Special Envoy. My mandate is, of course, to facilitate the meeting, the engagement of different political parties, political actors, players, in order to reach a kind of conducive environment to allow the political process to start, political dialogue to start among those parties. The other point is that we have to make a big effort in order to end violence.
Aung San has pledged his full support to your mandate. How do you plan to measure or define that full support?
The full support from the SAC, and especially from the strongman of the regime, is essential for me as Special Envoy to fulfill my mandate, especially in, for example, asking the military to exercise utmost restraint and use proportionate forces in order to respond to any violent activities from the other side, not to use disproportionate forces. I need the support from Senior General Aung in order for me to facilitate the meeting with the EAO, the Ethnic Armed Organization, and also other forces, especially the political parties in Myanmar, so that we can, discuss, exchange views, and I need his support in order to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian assistance. I also need his support to meet the people that we need to meet. Madam Aung San Suu Kyi, for example, President Win Myint, also former First Lady Suu Kyi, and any other political figure we consider as important for the contribution of peace and reconciliation. So his support is very important, and I can measure the support as strong.
Now, we note that when you went to Myanmar to speak with the Myanmar military, you were shown photos of bodies that were beheaded, limbs that were cut off, violence, killing of teachers, civil servants. But at the same time, the National Unity Government also has compiled what it calls evidence of violence, mass killings, burning of villages.
We have to understand that this comes from both opposing sides. If you have seen a video of the killing by forces from Cayenne, I think, Cayenne Karen forces, the killing of 5 soldiers from the regime, you could understand the climate of violence, the climate of distrust, the climate of hatred that still exists and that is rendering the search for peace and reconciliation so difficult, so difficult, because in those acts of killing, it shows so much hatred, and unless we eliminate this hatred, unless we build a kind of trust and the will to solve all differences by peaceful means, could we find a peaceful solution? And that is not the case yet. And that is not. I told the UN Security Council many times on that during my 2 briefings. The sad thing, the tragic thing is that people don't trust each other. And people still, each side is still determined to fight, to win, and to eliminate the other. And that is the main obstacle. But again, the Special Envoy is just a mediator, a facilitator. We are not a concerned party. We are not acting on behalf of Myanmar people or on Myanmar political parties. We are neutral. We are trying just to facilitate the talk to take place, and that is not easy.
Back in February, during the ASEAN Ministers Retreat, I asked you about engagement with the National Unity Government. Now that you mentioned the door is open, does that then pave the way for you to start talking to the NUG?
I think in some way, yes. But I have to say that we have heard many voices calling for engagement with the NUG, not only from outside, but also among our colleagues, ASEAN foreign ministers. Especially, we have a very vocal voice from our colleague from Malaysia. He has openly stated that he has engaged with the NUG. We have to recognize that countries are sovereign. They have their sovereign right to engage with whomever they want, whomever they consider for the best interest of the common cause, from the best interest for their own national interest, of course. In my capacity of Special Envoy, I have not only the mandate, but the duty to engage with all parties concerned. That means what it means. We will do whatever our duty calls us to do. But I have to say one thing. I won't take the same approach as my colleague Saifuddin, Foreign Minister Saifuddin. I don't need to shout on the rooftop on what we are doing. You know that negotiation is oftenly about discretion, and most of the time it is done in a very discreet, if not secret manner. So just be aware that we are engaging with all parties concerned within our mandate.
Have you started talking to the NUG?
This is still confidential. And whatever we do, we will, there will be a time, an appropriate time, that we will tell to the public what we have been doing with all those political players.
Do you think ASEAN is too soft on Myanmar? Do you think Cambodia is being too soft on Myanmar?
No. No. You know the ASEAN way. And on the contrary, I would say that some ASEAN country has been too hard against Myanmar. We have principle enshrined in the Charter of ASEAN, the principle of non-interference, the principle of equality. Each ASEAN member state is equal. And that is not the case with the treatment that we have imposed on Myanmar. Myanmar has been asked to downgrade its representation at the All ASEAN meeting until today. And that is not right. Why? Because nothing is said In the Charter, there is no downgrading representation of ASEAN member state in the Charter. We have to respect the sovereignty of every member state. We cannot interfere into internal affairs of any individual member state. But we did interfere at a certain degree. We have a selective choice of principle because some countries has referred to the principle of democracy and human rights. Right. But there is nothing that said that this principle has the supremacy on that principle. So the principle of non-interference, the principle of equality, has to be considered at the same value, same level as the principle of human rights and democracy. And we have also the principle of consensus in decision making. The fact that we have decided on the downgrading of representation of Myanmar to that of non-political one does not come from a consensus, but it came from a non-consensus. Because of the non-consensus, the chair of ASEAN, then Brunei, has to make a decision. And in his capacity of the chair of ASEAN, he has made the decision of inviting a non-political representative for the 38 and 39 summit last year. And that decision has been, well, I will say followed, not adopted, but followed until now. So are we being soft? No, we have followed the ASEAN way. We have followed the principle of ASEAN. And at certain level, we have been a little bit hard with Myanmar if we compare to the treatment that we have given to other ASEAN member states back maybe nearly 15 years ago.
So many requests from Cambodia to Myanmar have been turned down. Requests to meet Ms. Aung San Suu Kyi, requests for her to be transferred from jail to house arrest for her well-being, requests for the military to not go ahead to execute political prisoners. Back to back appeals have been turned down. How do you read these signals?
They can be read in a simple way. I shall say that there are always obstacles, hurdles, not voluntarily or voluntarily put in order for us to advance smoothly in the direction of peace and reconciliation for Myanmar. I am patient in nature. I have been through many difficulties in my life, and I think people of Cambodia knows how to be patient. because of our history. And I know that politics, negotiation is about, bargaining. You put something new, and then you take it back. And sometimes it's disappointing, I have to say. When we advance 2 steps and then we have to get backward 1 or 2 other steps, that's very frustrating. But I won't give up. What we have achieved so far is already encouraging enough to give us hope that for the future, despite all those hurdles, we can advance well and achieve the goal of helping Myanmar back to normalcy.
You've been gearing up for a potential meeting with State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi. If you do get a chance to meet her, what issues would you raise with her?
My Prime Minister, when he met with Senior General Aung at his first visit to Myanmar on 7th of January, raised the question of the possibility for the Special Envoy to meet with Madame Aung San Suu Kyi. I remind Senior General Aung of this request at my first visit and also on my second visit. Senior General Aung made a promise with me. He said that this time is not yet possible, but maybe at a later stage. Of course, the first thing I will say is that I'm very glad to meet her. During the years of work, we have built a kind of friendship between us. You know that Madame Aung San Suu Kyi is also the Foreign Minister of Myanmar, and we had the chance to work together on that capacity. Secondly, I will have to ask about her health condition. It is a subject of concern that she has been transferred from home arrest, house arrest, to a prison facility, even though the SAC assure us that this is a special facility that is comfortable, so on and so on. But nevertheless, we have appealed for the SAC not to transfer her, but the thing has been done already. But anyway, I conveyed the message from all my colleagues, all 9 colleagues, to let her stay at her house arrest. And the most important things we will ask or we will discuss with her is about her view on the future of Myanmar, how she sees the way out of the crisis, how her political influence could have a weight on the political process, the political dialogue that would lead to peace and national reconciliation. And another point would be to ask her how the principle of nonviolence, her principle of nonviolence, could influence all the faction in order to stop violence. When all armed forces stop fighting each other, they will have to come one day to the negotiation table. And then the way will be wide open for peace negotiation and national reconciliation. And I think that national reconciliation is linked closely to power sharing among Myanmar players, among Myanmar political leaders, and also between the central government and the states all around this central government.
In your negotiations with the Myanmar army with regard to getting access to Aung San Suu Kyi, did you convey to them your planned agenda such that it could perhaps pave the way for you to meet her?
We have just explained how important Madame Aung San Suu Kyi's role could be in this process. We cannot deny the vote of the majority of the people of Myanmar for the NLD. And NLD means Aung San Suu Kyi. To achieve peace, full peace, and durable national conciliation, you have to integrate all parties. The process has to be inclusive. Madame Aung San Suu Kyi is one important component. And you cannot exclude anyone. So this is some of the reasons we have presented to the SAC officials in order to persuade them to allow us to meet with Madame Aung San Suu Kyi. She cannot be excluded from the equation, the political equation.